Hi. So I've always loved to read. I've been a huge reader for honestly as long as I can remember, but I got busy. College happened, I was in a sorority, and then I got into my master's, I took an internship. I was just always busy. Needless to say, the only time I found myself being able to read was on vacation. But this last year has changed. I have come back to my reading girl era. Love that for me. So I've been reading a lot and I am excited to share with you today my 23 books / series most anticipated reads for 2023. So let's just dive in and do it. The way we're gonna do it is I'm gonna tell you a little bit about each one if I know anything about it, because there are some books that I have absolutely no idea what they're about, and I kind of want to keep it that way. I will list all of the books down below, as well as show you a picture if I don't have them in person with me right now, or I'll show you right here, and I will put the star rating from Goodreads on somewhere on the screen over here so that you can see, and we're gonna work our way from the worst average star rating to the best average star rating. I think it's more fun that way to get more exciting, but the first book won't follow that because I've already started reading the first book, and so I just want to share it first. I'm just too excited. I can't be the only one that gets so excited about a book that wants to like punch someone, you know, just out of pure excitement. I love it. In a nice way. First book is, I just like need a moment, Kingdom of Ash. Okay, so for all of the rest of the books, I'm only gonna put the first book in the series, and the series will be the whole thing. So if you want to say Throne of Glass, actually, where is Throne of Glass? So if you wanted to say Throne of Glass series, then you could just say the Throne of Glass series, which, by the way, if you don't already know, they're coming out with new covers, I think February like 14th, 2023, and I almost want to rebuy all the books because the covers are just so beautiful. Anyway, if you don't know anything about it, I'll tell you about Throne of Glass and not Kingdom of Ash, because honestly, this is a series where the first book starts out so differently than where it ends. I would have never guessed in a million years where this book was taking me. But essentially, if you like Hunger Games or anything like that, you'll probably like this. Follows a assassin named Selena, and she is picked to compete in a series of trials, I guess you could say, to become the king's assassin. So it follows her journey on that in this book. Honestly, the world just gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and there's just so much going on. I don't know how Sarah does it, but dear Sarah, I love you. I'm partway into this bad boy. How many pages is this book actually? Okay, this is like a 1,000-page book, but I'm 30% done, so exciting. Also, I'd like to add, if you've only read a KOTAR and you haven't read Throne of Glass, you're missing out. Oh, you know what? I just want to say one more thing. This is going to be the longest part, I swear. The rest of them will be really quick. This is like my new favorite book series, okay? Sarah, this is her first book that she wrote. She started writing this in high school. So, to be fair, this is a series that I think you have to like. If you don't like young adult, you have to kind of get through the first or two books. This one's definitely more young adulty, and then these ones don't get as young adulty. These are definitely adult. The next one is Light Arc. I don't have this one. It is something I've gotta buy. Barnes & Noble haul soon. Not against it. I don't know too much about this book, but it sounds like every 100 years an island appears and there are 6 realms and they're all kind of cursed in their own different ways, and so the realm leaders go to this island to compete in a deadly game. That sounds pretty amazing to me. Count me in. Then we have Atlas 6. I only know that there's 6 people, and that's why it's called Atlas 6. No, I do remember a part of this. There's just too many books. I don't remember them all. But essentially, all I know is that there is some elite, you know, group of magicians, academic magicians, whatever you want to call them. And every however many years, they let in new people, and it's called the initiation, and they have to go, the like world's best magicians go through this initiation to see who gets to join in on the group or not. Sounds cool. Next we have Dial A for Aunties. This is a little bit out of my comfort zone. I am typically a fantasy sci-fi girl. I love, love, love a totally different world. When I read a book, I prefer it where it's not set into the world that we're in. I just like a little bit of escapism in the book. And so I haven't read a lot of other types of books, but I want to get out of my comfort zone. And so I'm gonna read Dial A for Aunties. I think that this book sounds so cute. It is this girl who accidentally murders someone. Wow, I just said it sounded so cute. Okay, bear with me. Accidentally murders someone, and her aunties and her mom is trying to help her figure it out, but they're like at a wedding or something. I don't know exactly, but that just sounds like a fun, lighthearted read. And I definitely have realized that I probably need some lighthearted reads, which I'll explain in a little bit, but I definitely think that I need some lighthearted reads in between my fantasy or sci-fi books, especially like the series when you get a really bad book hangover. Another slightly out of character for me, I think that's it, is Crazy Rich Asians. The movie that they made from this is one of my favorite movies. The problem is I feel like whenever you watch a movie that's also a book, if you watch a movie first, the book isn't nearly as good. But if you read the book first, the movie isn't nearly as good. But you know what? My mom read this and she said it was so good and so much better than the movie, and she read it after the movie. We're gonna test it out. That would be a really nice little lighthearted read in between a little bit deeper stuff. Next one, again, I don't have this one in person. There's a lot that I don't have in person right now. My physical TBR is very small. Anyway, it's called Shatter Me. Although I think they've changed the cover since this. It's like now an eye or something, which I think honestly looks really cool. I don't know why, but I don't like it when there's people on my covers because I want to like fully imagine it myself. But anyway, the Shatter Me series is about a girl who is stuck in a insane asylum. Well, I don't know if she's stuck there, if she was put there. I don't know, we'll find out. Because she actually, whenever she touches someone, it kills them. And so it's to protect everyone else from her, because if she accidentally touches someone, like say she trips and falls into them, they would die. Like, how does that even work? Oh my god, I need to know. Next we have A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab. I know literally nothing about this besides I think it's taking place in London and there's some type of travel between different versions of London. I'm assuming they're like different realms, but all London, something like that. This has a lot of hype, and I know a lot of V.E. Schwab readers just love. Like, they're diehards. I just want to read one of the books because let me see if I like it too. Plus, it's got over a 4 average rating, which is a good sign. Next, what would this list be without Cruel Prince? Now, I've heard the first book is good. You know, the first book is good. But the second and the third book are amazing. I want to read it so bad. I know literally nothing about this book, and I don't want to know anything about this book besides that it's viral and I really want to read it, and everyone's told me that I have to read it. So therefore, I must read it. Crazy. Next, Jade City. This one, all I know is that they're in a place called Jade City. No, actually, this is what I think I saw Haley Pham suggest it, and I was like, okay, yeah. I think that was like the end of the conversation for me. Also, the cover is gorgeous. The next one is Once Upon a Broken Heart. In this book, I know it's super viral. I don't really know anything about it besides it's this girl, she loves someone, they're getting married to someone else, and she wants to stop the wedding. I feel like I can't add this one without also adding Caraval, however you say it, because they're set in the same world, and I've heard that you have to read Caraval before you read Once Upon a Time, or Once Upon a Broken Heart, sorry, excuse me. And so I kind of want to go in that order. I guess we'll read Caraval first, and then Once Upon a Broken Heart. Next we have Fairy Tale. Fairy Tale is by Stephen King. I love Stephen King. I'm not a big horror person, and I don't even think I've ever read a thriller, but I have read some Stephen King books. So I must have read some type of thriller. So I just saw this one. I saw it in like, every time I go to Barnes & Noble, it's like on one of those things that's like best-selling tables or TikTok, you know, viral or something like that. And it makes me want it more. What I know about this book is it's kind of set in a normal world, but there's a portal in this man's house that this guy goes through, this kid. That sounds fun. That sounds interesting, a portal to another world. Plus Stephen King just writes so well, so eloquently. So he just traps you in. I've got to read it. Okay, the next one is Fantasy of Frost. I actually do have these in person. Ooh, ooh. I have 2 of them. I think there's 4 of them, but I have the first 2. They're really short. I mean, look at that. You could read multiple of these in one day. I actually don't know anything about them, and I kind of want to keep them that way. All I know is that my sister got these for me, I think on like my birthday or something like that. And they're really quick, really short reads, and she said that they were really good. And it's nice to kind of like break up a really long series, because I think Throne of Glass is 8 books. So it's kind of nice to like not read a full massive 8-book series back to back type of thing and read like smaller series in between. Also, when book covers feel like velvety soft, I just love that. It's nice. Next is Dance of Thieves. So Dance of Thieves is, honestly, again, I don't know anything about it. I saw Haley Pham recommend it and a few other people recommend it, and I was like, okay, this is my sign. People are truly loving it. It's got an average of a 4.2 on Goodreads, which, to be fair, I feel like Goodreads is hit or miss with their averages. I'm not gonna lie, because sometimes they rate like their average is so good and I'm like, no. But I love like scheming and thievery and all of that fun stuff in books. So Dance of Thieves, even the title sounds up my alley. Another book that I have in person with me, please don't judge how bad this book looks, okay? Don't judge it. It's called Black Prism. Okay, so listen, I know that this book, look, it's got, oh, you can't even see right here. It's got blue stains right here. It's clearly had like some water damage. I have tried starting this book like 5 times. And I always bring it with me to vacation. I brought it with me to Hawaii multiple times now. Every single time I bring this to Hawaii and I start it, and I love it. I get trapped in it. But then, like I said, I was just a really busy girl and I wasn't prioritizing reading it all. And so I would come back home, because obviously I can't read this whole thing. And then I get home and I haven't had the time, or haven't like set aside the time to actually finish this book. But it's so interesting. I think the magic system in this book is so unique and just fascinating. So essentially the way the magic system works is that it's almost, think of like a light prism, and how there's like light refracting, however you say it, off of these like little prisms. Well, each person can control, not everyone can, but you get the gist. People can control specific lights, so like red or green or whatever, but the more you use it, the closer you are to dying. And it's just really such an interesting thought, and I really want to read it. He had another series called The Way of the Shadows, which I absolutely adored. I read them in high school. His writing sucks you in from the moment you start reading. Second and third book, this is The Way of the Shadows by that same author. I really recommend. So good. Next, we have another in-person book. I'm not gonna lie, I've read, let's see, I'm 356 pages in. I could not finish it. I'm not gonna lie, I hated it. I despised it. But I think the reason why is because I read this. This was the second series that I started as soon as I finished the first series that got me back into reading, which was a Kotar. That series really kicked it off for me. I spent 3 days straight in bed doing nothing but reading to finish the entire series. And instead of like letting myself live through that book hangover, I ran to Barnes & Noble and I was like, give me any book I can. And when I got there, everyone was like, oh, you should read this one. A lot of Sarah J. Maas people like this book as well, or fans like this book as well. And I was super excited, pumped, whatever. And there's a lot of spice in this book, and there's a lot it's like very romance heavy, and I like romance in my books, but I don't like a romance book. I love action in my books, and honestly the action scenes that I had read in this were phenomenal. I just wanted more of it, and I think that if I go back and I reread this and I start it over, I'm actually going to love it, because now I've had like a little bit of time and I won't read it right after Throne of Glass. So I want to go back and actually reread this. I'm excited to read this again, and I heard that the second one is even better. Next book is Ender's Game. This movie, the movie that they made from this is one of my all-time favorite movies. I am obsessed with the movie. Basically, if you don't know anything about it, it follows, I think he's supposed to be 6 in the book. It's a 6-year-old prodigy who is essentially a prodigy in the sense of like military. And so they're training these young prodigy kids to become military leaders. And they're supposed to fight against an alien race. Huge plot twist at the end. One of my favorite movies. I've heard the book is insane, but the real reason I want to read this book more than anything is because I want to read the second book. I've heard that the second book is absolutely phenomenal, and like what happens afterward is just insane, and I cannot wait to get my hands on this book. Next book is Babel. This book I've heard has a really interesting magic system. So essentially everything is run on silver, but to use silver you have to know multiple languages. And so this guy Robin is brought back to London to train with a professor to try to get into Oxford, and he learns all of these languages so that he can use the silver. And you know, it's like this whole book on colonization and whatever, and it's gone viral. And if it's gone viral, I need to understand why. Next series I have is the Mistborn series. I think it's also called The Final Empire is the name of the first book. It is, first of all, this cover, beautiful, beautiful. Second of all, I don't know anything about this book, but my sister has told me time and time again, actually multiple people have told me now, that I have to read the Mistborn series. I know that I'm gonna like his writing because all of my sisters are telling me that Mistborn is a absolute must. It's got almost a 4.5 average star review on Goodreads, which is insane. Listen, I used to always say I wanted to read a trilogy and only like trilogies because I like having extra books, but I didn't want to be 7-8 books deep. But to be fair, honestly, I don't really care, and I love a long series because then you get to be dived into the world even more. Like the Throne of Glass series, this is gonna be the worst hangover I've ever had. Anyway, this is a long series too. I think there's 7 or 8 books in this one as well. I'm so excited to get into this world. As we started, we will continue with Sarah J. Maas. Crescent City. Crescent City is, I'm very excited to read it. It is on my 2023 TBR book list, whatever, obviously. I'm just nervous because I know it's a little bit more modern. I cannot read this after Throne of Glass. I have to put multiple books in between this and Crescent City. Otherwise, I think that I'm just not gonna like it because I've heard that it's a little bit more modern, like they have guns or phones or something like that. I'm not exactly sure, which is totally fine. I just think that when I'm put into a certain world, like I get upset. Not upset, but I just don't like it as much as if all of a sudden it becomes modernized. So I'm excited to read this. Obviously, Sarah J. Maas is phenomenal. I would be doing myself a disservice if I didn't read this. I just can't read it yet. Next, Six of Crows. This book is about a robbery heist team, 6 of Crows, 6 people, I assume, and they have to do some heist to win a massive amount of money that will be life-changing for these 6 people. And I'm really excited to read it. I've heard many good things. I have not read a heist book before, so I'm interested to see if that will be something that I actually enjoy or something that I don't. I was looking at my sister's Goodreads and she reviewed it pretty well, and typically her and I have pretty similar tastes, so that's a good sign. It's also got almost a 4.5 review on Goodreads, so who doesn't love that? And it's gone crazy viral. I've heard so many good things about it. The next and last physical TBR that I have with me is Name of the Wind. This is by Patrick Rothfuss. I don't know if I'm actually saying that right, but this is the book. Amazing. I know my book is a little beat up again. I've taken it to the beach and stuff, and you know, it's been loved. This is another book just like the other one that I've started, and oh look, yeah, I have my page marked. Okay, 18 pages just fell out of the book. We're gonna ignore that that just happened. But yeah, I've restarted this a few times, and honestly, every time I've restarted it, I have just been in love with it. But every time I restarted it, I wasn't in my reading era yet, or again, I guess I should say. And so after I would come back from a vacation or something, I would end up putting it aside and never reading it and then forgetting what I read and having to start over again. And the writing starts off already so intense, and there was so much action just from like the small thing that I remember, and it was so interesting. And I believe you're following, if I remember correctly, you're following this guy who is like secretly the like world's greatest wizard, but he's like pretending not to be, and he's like trying to keep some type of secret. So it's really, really, really interesting. So good. I mean, the action is so well written. It just keeps you on your seat, and you're, oh God, what's gonna happen? Who's gonna, oh, what, ow, how did that, oh no, what, oh, twist and turn. Like, that's how I felt reading this, and I was just so, I just like wanna actually pick this up and read the whole thing. But again, this is a full series. I don't know how many books. Let me just look up how many books it has. It looks like it's really just 2 books, but there's 2 novellas, one before to like pre-do this one, and one at the very end. Lastly, another Brandon Sanderson, we have The Way of the Kings. This book, I'm so excited to read this book. I think it's gonna be so up my alley, just like the Mistborn series. It has a general rating on Goodreads, but this one is over a 4.5. It's 4.65 stars. I don't know anything about it. I don't want to know anything about it. Also, the cover is beautiful. I mean, look at these colors on the cover. I'm sold. Sold! This is why I can't walk into Barnes & Noble and not walk out with like 20 books. Anyway, that was my 23 books for 2023 TBR, whatever you want to call it, that I'm super excited to finish or read or start, and we'll see how many we get through. If you want to follow along, I have linked all of the books down below so that you can purchase them if you want. I've also, I'm not gonna lie, I have found the prettiest covers for you. So if you would like to get the prettiest covers that I could find, in my opinion, the Amazon links are for you. I got you. And also, I will link my Goodreads account below as well. If you have any questions, comments, recommendations, any of this stuff, let me know down in the comments below. Thank you so much, and have a fabulous, fabulous rest of your day. And don't forget to subscribe. Should I start reading right now? Okay, bye.